Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to go over our daily technical analysis update of gold and silver. We're going to go over the dollar, 10-year yield, precious metals, ETF, and some individual companies just to gauge what the sector is doing. I'll do some of my opinions on where I think it may be going. Again, guys, in the short term, maybe 60% right. The big long-term picture view is really what the fundamentals drive. And that's really what I invest for. It's the big long-term picture. But short-term wise, a lot of people like knowing my opinion on the short term. So let's dive in. I'll give you my financial opinion. Please don't use it as advice. The dollar. The dollar's an index. Remember, it's just paper currency versus other toilet paper currencies. We've broken to the upside for the dollar. We're in this consolidation sideways grind pattern. We were up today 0.24%, and it's a battle between the buyers and the sellers of where this index is going. Where I think it's ultimately going is this is a return move, maybe somewhere up here at best, and then we'll roll over and head lower. That's what I've seen in expansionary phases of real estate. Now, is this time different where the dollar goes up because all the other currencies are also experiencing higher rates of inflation? That could very well be. And this time, this time in a real estate expansionary phase could be different than previous times. And we would still get massive inflation and a commodity boom. But I watched the dollar because it seems like if you're going to price precious metals in dollar assets, that the price of the dollar and the relative strength or weakness of the dollar against other assets will determine how well those assets are priced. And hopefully that made some sense there. Since commodities are priced in dollars, we want to see a weaker dollar, which will push these all higher. The 10-year has been getting stronger. We do have a breakout. It's almost a shoulder head shoulder pattern that we could break to the upside. I've got a yield projection of basically where we were in 2018 at about a 3% yield, or a little bit over 3%. 3.2, 3.1, somewhere in that range. So that's what I've got for yields. And today we were up just a little bit. We do have some wicks at the top. I do think this may come back and do a retest or something like that in the short term. Gold was up today. We are up $5. It started out lower and ended up. That is a very good thing. That is a bullish engulfing pattern that we've got right here, engulfing the ones before it, which generally means that we could be potentially going higher. So I think it looks really good for a move higher here for gold. Looking at silver, I would say, is not as good as gold. We've got this kind of large impulse move lower the past couple of trading days, and then we've come up, and that bounce isn't as big. So I think gold looks the best. Silver still needs to, I think, chop out some movements next to this large down impulse move day and small up days next to it. So it may roll over, but again, hard for me to believe that gold would go up without silver. So I think gold's the one to watch, to be honest. Looking at platinum, platinum had a down day today, $15 down. What happened here is we kind of squeezed up a little bit. There's this kind of resistance line here, and then we have this support line here, and we kind of blew out the downside. It's a really small pattern. And what's happening is whenever these patterns are upward facing, it means that they're going to break to the downside most likely. But the patterns are getting smaller and smaller. And some of the things I look for in these is I look for how big the pullbacks are. You get a pullback here, a pullback here, a pullback here, and then hopefully these are going to get smaller and smaller. And as they get smaller, the momentum is coming out of the stock. So what I'm hoping for is a low that's somewhere in this region in here, and I would be a buyer in here because this is kind of the last good time to buy are in these return moves of a very large breakout. And here's the large breakout. We broke to the upside. We're doing a return move, and this is the exact spot you want to buy for the least risk, highest reward, last best entry point. Wow, that's a mouthful. Looking at the XAU to gold ratio, we've got some positive development there where XAU was outperforming gold itself. So we came up a little bit today, looking better. Karora Resources does look like we found some buyers with these wicks at the bottom here. So it means that we opened here, it came throughout the day, and it was bought up throughout the day. So the momentum's heading to the upside. So that looks good. EXK, bullish engulfing hammer. I would be adding into my position here. It is at a longer term support area going back. And I would be doing a little bit of sprinkling in with this hammer pattern, engulfing hammer pattern. We're seeing that same pattern on SILJ, another engulfing hammer pattern that looks good to potentially be a bottom to move up in the very short term. And then GDX, same thing. It's a little bit larger hammer pattern. We're right at support down here. So again, I would be sprinkling in amounts right now. That's what I would be doing if you believe in the thesis of the channel. And that's in the description below if you want to see that. Metallic minerals, finding a little bit of support here. Yeah, it was a down day. 3.13% is what I see. I don't know why it's green there. It's on the daily candlesticks. But it looks okay. This is a higher risk company, guys, so don't be piling into it. That's my opinion. Discovery Silver, we're trying to find some support here at this lower trend line. Hopefully you can find some. Let me grab this thing if I can and just drag it a little bit lower because I'm not grabbing the exact lows here, but it's right there. It's finding support. AG, hammer pattern, bullish, kind of engulfing type pattern. I would be a buyer down here, guys. That's what I would be doing. And hopefully we can get some short-term momentum to the upside. This is Newmont, bullish engulfing on this guy. Most likely going to head higher here in the short term. Mag Silver, another bullish engulfing. We're seeing bullish engulfings across this sector. So that's looking good. It's right at support for Mag Silver too. That'd be a good one to add into. Yamana Gold's bullish engulfing. Again, I would be adding in into these positions as I think we're going to break to the upside at some point here in the short term. I don't think it's going to be less than 6 months, probably over the next couple of weeks is what I would be suspecting. Doesn't mean it will happen that way. This is only probabilities, but it's looking better. These are firming up. We are at the support lines, and that's where I like to add. That's your kind of your best, lowest risk way to add into these things. I don't have too much to say about Arcana Silver. PLG still throwing it in. This is a descending wedge. We're right in the corner of the descending wedge. This is probably where I would add in, and I did add in some money. Again, this is a higher risk play. I wouldn't bet the farm on this one. So I don't want people to be wrong sizing the positions. Now, these are the ones that I overweight a little bit more, and where I would be adding more of my money is Sandstorm Gold. It's a royalty company. The royalty companies is what I like. I'd be adding in here right now. That's Sandstorm Gold, looking good. Bullish engulfing, off support. Franco-Nevada, I would add in. Its buyers are coming in and stepping in. EMX, pretty low right here. Might be one that you want to look at here. It's kind of like a return move almost off of this gigantic pattern. So I think it's probably a decent spot to be adding down here. Sprinkle, sprinkle. Teuton Resources, again, we're low. Up to you on what you want to do. $1.55, that's cheaper than a lot of the shares that I've purchased. So you'd be getting in cheaper than me. Wheaton Precious Metals, I would be a buyer here. Bullish engulfing of the day before it. That is an indication of a bottom and that we're potentially going to move up. This is also a hammer pattern. Looking at Gold Royalty, hammer pattern. Again, if we can reverse this thing around, this would be a very good entry point. If we can reverse. Metallo Royalty, again, looks good. It's a hammer pattern, potentially to move higher. Short-term bottom. Hammer pattern on Mavericks Metals. Short-term bottom to move on higher. Royal Gold, looking good with some good buying pressure. And Cisco Gold Royalty. Again, we're right at that support line. Looks good to go to the upside. Another thing that's very positive when looking at the overall market, maybe I'll post another overall market one. They're putting in hammer patterns as well, which I think will be supportive to all of these sectors in the commodities sector. The reason I think that is if they're getting a lot of selling pressure, there's going to be margin calls, and then they're going to sell everything. So if that's going to bounce, I think that's going to help our cause over here. We definitely have a lot of inflation out there. Interest rates are going up. And we're starting to see the beginnings of people getting worried about the high inflation and probably worrying about interest rates, higher interest rates, which is going to cause and spark different assets on how they're invested. So that it's going to spark that rotation of money that I talk about on the channel a lot. If you guys like this analysis, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.